All right, so welcome to the beginner level tutorial of automating emails in Airtable. We're going to be triggering emails from some sort of people table. So that's going to contain all the contacts and the recipients of the emails we're going to be sending out. We'll look at various ways to trigger those emails based on different conditions and time triggers that we specify. We're going to populate a predefined template that has placeholders, and then we'll substitute values from the person's fields into the placeholders. And we're going to be sending these emails using Airtable's native built-in email actions. So just because I'm labeling it beginner doesn't mean that it's not powerful, and it doesn't mean that it's not going to be able to handle most of your email automation needs. Looking forward to showing you this. Let's go.
Email automation in Airtable, beginner level, part 1. In this part, we'll cover how to understand triggers versus actions in Airtable automations, trigger emails using checkboxes, send emails using Airtable's native send email action, insert dynamic placeholders like first name and department, and use basic formatting.
All right, so we've got this people table here, pretty basic stuff. We've got the primary key, which is showing their email, and this make-believe organization, it's first.last@example.com. Start date, first name, last name, preferred name, job title. So just some basic data about this organization that we could leverage in our emails. Now, of course, this might look completely different for you depending on what your particular use case is. Let's get into the topic. So email automation. I'm going to go over to automations. So let's get a new automation started, and let's go ahead and add a trigger. There's various ways that you can trigger things natively in Airtable. We can trigger when a record matches certain conditions, like, for example, somebody's start date has occurred. If we go to people, we can say when start date is today, or when the start date is tomorrow, if you want to send something a day before their start date. So another thing that you could do is you can create a checkbox field. So I'm creating a checkbox, and we can just name that send email. I'm typing with one hand because I'm holding the mic in the other. I can clip this to myself too, but I just kind of feel cooler holding it for some reason. So the idea here is that when I hit this checkbox, I want that to trigger the sending of an email. So the way you would do that is you would sort of go in and you'd say, when send email is checked. So let's go ahead and just use that as the trigger for now. When you click on choose record, you're going to be able to search for records that match those conditions currently. So if there aren't any records that match the condition currently, obviously none will appear. So let's put one in the scope. So let's go with Emma here, Emma Turner. So I'm going to put her in the scope, and I'm going to check that on. So if I go back to the automation now and I click choose record, I see that Emma has now entered the scope, and I can select her to use for testing. So now Emma is loaded in this sort of testing data. So now we just want to select an action to send the email. There's several different things you could do here. So to start, let's use Airtable's native send email action. Now, this is cool. I mean, I don't personally use it too often, and I'll show you why. But it's perfectly acceptable for all sorts of use cases. There's nothing wrong with doing it this way. I would say that the main thing that prevents a lot of people from using it is that it comes from the Airtable domain. And we'll see what that looks like in a second. So where it says to, we can actually go and click in, and then we can find the first step here. So when a record matches conditions, and then we can search for her email. So that's going to populate the email of whoever is currently being run through the process. Subject, these can be dynamic as well. So we could say something like hi, and then we could say first name, exclamation. So that would say hi Emma, or hi whoever we're targeting. And then here's the same thing. You can pull in attributes from the recipient's profile. So hi Emma. Oh, whoops, I don't need to do that, right? Because this is dynamic. So I can go in and I can just select the first name. Hi, first name. Then we can say things like, hope everything's going well. This is just a test email. How are things in the... And then we can pull in another attribute. Pull in the name of her department. So in her case, it's going to be the product department. Talk soon. Thank you, Chris. Okay, so let's generate a preview, see what that looks like. Okay, so this is coming from Airtable automations, no reply, plus automations at airtable.com, right? That's fine, but for some people, you kind of want it to come from your domain, so we're going to look at how to do that as well. So it's being sent to Emma. Hi Emma, hope everything is going well. This is just a test email. How are things in the product department? So you can see that it pulled in her department attribute, substituted it in for that placeholder. Talk soon, thank you, Chris. So everything worked as it should. I didn't have any doubts. So let's just go ahead and name this automation before we forget. So we'll just call this send email test A. And let's arm it. It's ready to go, actually. So now that I've unchecked that, I can trigger it again. So I'll go ahead and do that. Send it. We can go into automations and we can look at the history. Ran successfully. This is what it looks like. So looks good. So, there's a lot of things that you can do with it. Just to show you, we can also pull in different things here. So let's say here's a list of all the people in your department, and then we could go in and look for department members, and we can select the linked record and then the name, and it should create a list of all the people who are in that department. So let's go ahead and update that, generate the preview. Here's a list of all the people in your department. So you can see that that list is there. So there's a lot of things that you can do here. You can use basic HTML as well for the formatting. Now we're just kind of using plain text because this is the beginner level, right? You can also do like basic markdown formatting. So if you surround things with 2 asterisks, run that again. Now you'll see that this is bold, right? So you can italicize things as well and do all the basic sort of markdown stuff that you would expect. So that's how that's sort of the basics of how to do that with the native send an email action in Airtable.